Could we have a hurricane strike on Hawaii? That is the question I want to ask today. We also have a tropical storm in the Atlantic and so much more to talk about. But let's start on potential tropical cyclone 1C. Alright, so here is our NHC cone. We finally have a cone out of this storm. It takes it directly toward Hawaii. It does take it over the South Island, which would mean if it's further south, it will probably have higher intensity. If it's further north, it will probably be weaker. But if it is further south too, they're going to get the bad, dirty side of the storm. All of Hawaii will, basically. And it doesn't even matter if you're on the southern side on Big Island. If it strikes Big Island, the whole island's getting affected. There is some good news here. This storm is moving relatively fast, and it is not expected to become ultra strong, and hence the tropical storm forecast, though I do think there is enough guidance for me to say this could potentially be a hurricane strike as well. Let's take a look at our satellite here, as it is looking better and better by the day, but it has been very slow progress in getting more well-defined. I believe they have the center of circulation right here, where this earlier convection was. We have like another center, kind of a subcenter down here, and we have another subcenter up here. But our regular center of circulation is up here, where we saw some convection earlier, and all this other moisture is going to help fuel this storm as it will head to the northwest. Running my favorite model out real quick, you can see it's going to stay in this spot for a bit, and then it's going to move a little more directly northwest, and then it's going to shift to west-northwest, and could be slowly intensifying on its way to Hawaii, and beyond that, it could strengthen a little bit further. This particular model does show a direct strike on Hawaii, but I want to take a look at our hurricane models, which are pretty good at showing a wide variety of intensity. These are the ones that once you get a system that is kind of formed, you can kind of run them out and they'll have more accuracy on strength than like global models. Sometimes AI models have good strength with it, like the Google Weather Lab model, but these are still really good with intensity, and you can kind of see different situations happening. So here we go. Here's our H-Wharf model. This is going to move it directly to the west. And where does this thing make landfall? Very slow organization, by the way. And you can see a lot of the moisture to the north. As we head into Saturday, we are finally approaching the islands. It's taking it at a 980 millibar storm. This would probably be a Category 1. And then it takes it a little, weakening it. And then it takes a strike just to the south of this point of the triangle. This would probably be a worst case scenario for the island, as there would be more impacts throughout the whole island, and you'd still get outer fringe effects on basically all the other islands. So Hawaii, because this storm is going to move like directly west and kind of through the islands, it's going to take a longer time to impact the islands. Here's a slightly less intense scenario, still probably high-end tropical storm, low-end Category 1, but this one does take it much further to the north, and it would be striking the northern islands then. This would probably be your best case scenario for the islands in general, as fewer islands would get the dirty side of the storm, though it still shows a near hurricane impact here. Strength-wise, the HAFS A has the best case scenario. It still takes it directly toward the South Island, but it keeps it rather disorganized, and got some dry air on the south side mainly. But as you can still see, the north side is the strong part, and it still makes landfall as a medium-end to higher-end tropical storm. The HAFS B, on the other hand, is our strongest potential strength, and this does wrap it up a lot quicker. It already brings it down to 985 on Saturday, and down to 978. This is the lowest millibar potential that I have seen from a hurricane model so far. It brings it down to 969, which is like high-end, medium-end Cat 2, maybe low-end Cat 3, but it does weaken it right as it would approach land, and on the other side, it just really wouldn't affect as many islands with this certain scenario. It would just be mainly the big island, as it would really mess up the track of this storm. Rounding out our Google DeepMind weather model, you can see that this is taken a little bit further north of a trend. I thought it might actually do this, and kind of a worst case scenario here, it is actually uptrended the intensity of this storm. The average takes it at a high-end Cat 1, and if you go click on this, you can see that there is some potential of a Category 2, and a couple of the ensembles do show Cat 3 there, like literally one. I do think Cat 3 is like the highest end of the scenarios, though, and that would be very unlikely to happen at that point, but I think beyond that it could actually happen. Now, finally moving on to the Atlantic side of the hyperactivity right now, we have Tropical Storm Cristobal that has formed slightly later than normal. It's about average formation date of our D-name storm, usually at this point, and we are, if another storm forms down in tropical waves, we'll be near average again. But you can see the structure of Cristobal, not very well defined. Originally, it had a lot of the convection right near the center, but as it continued to the northeast, the center has really dislocated from the convection, and that means this system is on its way out real quick. There's no potential for much more strengthening with the storm. It's no threat to land. Now let's take a look at our two tropical waves here. This one to the west right now has an 80% chance in a 2-day time frame of development. It's actually looking real good on satellite imagery. So is the one behind it. If both do form, we'd be ahead of schedule, but I doubt that both will form. But in general, this one's going to move directly to the west, and it should die out on its way to the Caribbean. The second one behind it has the potential to move to the north, maybe stay a little bit stronger, so that will be something to watch there. Running out our European AI model, you can see that it does show this one get a little bit more development out of it. It might have a chance in the next couple of days, but as it aims toward the Caribbean, it loses its low pressure area and is just a beneficial area of rain to the Caribbean. There's so much wind shear here and some dry air to the north that this thing is not surviving if it heads into the Caribbean. That's generally what's going to happen. The system behind it, though, does have a higher chance of moving to the north, though this specific run doesn't show it. As you can see here with our Google Weather Lab model, you can see that it is supposed to stay just to the north of the Caribbean if it does form, and then it would take a path just to the east of the US, hopefully. There's like almost a guaranteed front there. That is good news. Also, it looks like we do have another tropical wave signal as we head toward end of August. I'm not going to talk about that one right now. But another signal we do have, this one shouldn't be aiming for land. There's another 1 or 2 signals out here about 10 days out, 10, 12 days out on our Google Weather Lab model, showing another area to the west of Mexico, and it would stay well to the east of Hawaii. So if you guys do get struck hard by future Lala, this one shouldn't be a threat. Alright, running out one of the models, you can see the Western Pacific should end the monsoon gyre kind of a pattern very soon, and we could see a system develop over further in the western part of the basin. We could have a system or two develop. The main area to watch would be in the South China Sea, mainly toward Hainan, South China, or Vietnam. Those would be the areas to watch for this one. And I also think that maybe a slow-moving or flood threat is possible. And our other area will be just to the east or northeast of Taiwan. and that one could drift to the north. And then after that, we're going to watch back out here in the central and eastern Northwest Pacific, where we'll have probably hurricane/typhoon Lala lingering at potentially higher intensity, and we'll also have some systems developing to the southwest. I'm not going to run that out fully because the situation can change very quickly. You can still see we have remnants of Pailu and Tropical Storm Nanka, or remnants of Tropical Storm Nanka. This will continue moving off to the northeast. It's like the third system here to do so. This will end that pattern very soon. And then these are our areas to watch. We're going to be watching east-northeast of Taiwan and in the South China Sea for maybe some weak signals of development. And then we're going to shift our eyes down here in the central and eastern West Pacific, and the average of the Google Weather Lab does take the system kind of just generally out this way. I think a track further west is honestly what I'm thinking with this one. But right now in the Western Pacific, no impact to land. I should be able to update you tomorrow of soon-to-be Tropical Storm Lala, maybe even Hurricane Lala, and eventually a typhoon. But this is going to be a long track storm to track, and I'm going to cover it all, and I will see you tomorrow.